you're about to hear may shock you. The following information is never found in the marketing of high-ticket sales but will be learned through reality. If you'd rather not hear the truth, leave now or forever hold your peace.
Welcome to episode 6 of the High Ticket Snails podcast with me, Charlie Free, and my co-host, Gary Garland. Gary, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing amazing, mate. I told you it's going to get more intense every single week, bro. I told you.
Oh man, yeah, we've definitely had some fun. I think this week we've opened a lot of doors. Like I feel like there's been a lot happen this week that we could talk about that really just is going to resonate with people. I think. What do you think?
Well, I know for the most part there's a lot of resonance anyway, but I think the advantage is what happened this week collectively. People experienced a different version, and it's important to know this is current. This is out on a Monday. This is like fresh, live. This is what's coming in. This is like the news in many ways. So I think there's a lot of resonance for the timing of people. Even, let's go straight into it. You had much more insight this week being on some of the classes, being there. And didn't you recognize yesterday, without naming names, there was a lot of what they said, like, oh my God, this is coming up so much for me this week. And you see those themes, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. People don't realize that we're talking from our hearts. Like this is reality. This is what the industry is like. This is the most raw form of the high ticket space that you're ever going to see. Like you're not going to get it raw anywhere else. Most places are sitting there trying to sell you something or trying to get you in a program, whatever it is, right? We are here to really just show what the rawness is of it, because the more raw we are, the more successful the people that you know, in class are going to be. They're going to be successful, right? Like being truthful is going to give them expectations that you're not going to make $100,000 a year in the first 30 days, right? Like you have to learn and grow and things like that. And, you know, I think when we had the class earlier this week, not the one that we did yesterday, but the one earlier this week, you know, I asked a question in that call, and I want to elaborate with you, Charlie, on this. And, you know, I asked, like, how much time are you putting aside per week to developing yourself into a high ticket salesperson, right? Whether it's a setter, closer, DM, whatever it is, how much time are you putting into it every week that you've set aside? And none of them had an answer to that. Right now, that community specifically was new to the process, right? But I think for a lot of people, that's a problem, right? Because ultimately, most people that we run into are either A, working another job, they're trying to do some kind of other side hustle to make money while they're trying to get in the space. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't think there's as many people anymore. I feel like it maybe was a little bit different a couple of years ago, but there's a different... Let's think about it like this. If you started to enter into high ticket sales 2 years ago, it says something about you. It says you're more at the front end of the wave. An example is if you did purchase Bitcoin even before 2012, it says a lot about you at that time. So as a consensus, I would say the further in that we get, 2026, 2027, 2028, the market and who enters it changes and adapts. And many more people now aren't so much just throwing everything in to make it work. They have lives. The call that you're talking about, who's the youngest individual was, what, like 50?
54.
Yeah.
Well, there was two of them were 54. One was in their 60s. But I don't even think age matters. Like in this situation, like you're still adding and developing a skill, right? Which is great for anybody to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the problem was when you can't answer that, like, oh, we're too new to this, we don't know. The thing is you have to be prepared because, right, like if you're working another job and you want to do this and you're just adding high ticket sales on it as a secondary job, which between me and you, I don't think that's a great option. I really just don't. I don't, from what I've been in the industry and saw, like doing high ticket sales part time is just really not an option once you're in a role, right? Because you're following up with people, you're calling people, you're like, it's an 8 hour a day grind. Now, somebody like you who's in the, European market and you're working a US market, you can get away with more than somebody like me in the US market because I am like normal business hours is 8 to 5 here, right? Like, but for some of them, they can get away with it to an extent. But I think where the problem was is that like, oh, well, I can commit Friday, Saturday, Sunday to working on this right now. Okay, but when you take on that role, you're not going to be able to just work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. To be honest with you, how many weekends have you worked in high ticket sales? It's very few and far between, in my opinion, at least in my experience with it, right? So you need to be able to set that a time that you're going to work away now when you're applying for jobs. Those same hours should constitute sending applications, and it's just like the person we talked to yesterday that has multiple interviews constantly, interview after interview. Now, are they perfect fits? No, right? But she is getting a ton of interviews because she's putting in the work and the effort that these other people that we've seen, not specifically anybody this week, but overall in industry are not doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'd say the first thing to bank is time. Right, following the concept of time plus energy equals results. That formula, the amount of hours, hundreds of hours. In fact, you should have seen it the other day, Gary. Even just with this new adaptation of what I'm bringing to the market with placement, we've done north of 300 hours since November. Right? I put the numbers in the chat the other day, but I'm tracking the minutes of teaching I've done. Time plus energy equals results is a formula that you have to understand to achieve anything. So if you don't have time structure, if you're not banking the time, here's a way to do it, I guess. 168 hours in a week. It's important to move in weekly cycles, because if you overwhelm yourself too much in like a day, every single time I've asked people in the class, how many of you have had a day so far this week, right, where something came at you and you didn't plan it, and everyone's hand always goes up? So the week gives you more breathing room. That's 7 days. And if you sleep 8 hours a night, it leaves you with 112 waking hours. You start to deduct everything that you have to do, work, whatever it is, your normal job. You incorporate in as little folders as possible, like your job. If that includes travel, put that all in job, overcompensate the hours, and then look at how many hours you have remaining for high ticket sales. And even people with 3 jobs, Gary, there's a guy I'm thinking of, super cool guy. He was like, I just ain't got any time, man. And, I just working 3 jobs and I haven't got any time, man. And I'm like, okay, how many hours do you reckon you've got? He's like, I'll probably get 3 or 4 hours a week, even overcompensating on everything else he does and halving the amount of time remaining. He had 48 hours left in the week. That includes sleep, everything he needs to do. And he still had 48 hours left. So the first thing to do, I think your point was very valid, Gary. I think some people don't quite get it. And you can't, again, the downside of not marketing to people, then bringing them on board, onboarding them, they come into your ecosystem where this is like fundamentally part of their welcome pack. Sometimes when you hit them with that, they've never seen any of that. They've never heard any of that. They're like, well, I'm not ready for that yet. When the paradox is, you're only able to receive when you're ready to receive. It's not like you're not ready for it. because you can do it today on this call. Something isn't allowing yourself to accept and quantify it. So it's crucial. If you can't manage time, you won't make a dime.
Yeah, and I think I look at this like, right, like I'm a different type of human than a lot of people when it comes to like working remotely, taking on a role like this. Sometimes people coming into the high ticket space, you know, when we do discovery of bringing somebody into high ticket, right, you know, to understand there, a lot of times it's that freedom of being able to do what they want when they want. But that is a very fine edged sword, right? Like, because if you're not disciplined, right, you're not going to show up to calls on time. You're not going to be prepared. You're not going to be planned, right? I did my bachelor's and my master's degree online, so I had to be structured. And the reason I'm saying this is because those classes were at a certain time every week. I still had to show up for them, right? It's the same thing with high ticket sales. You're essentially going to school when you're taking on going in one of these communities to learn how to be in it. You need to treat it like school, that you're setting that dedicated time away, because if not, you're not going to be successful, whether it's through the training, into the job, whatever, like, because you're not focused. You're not ready for it, essentially. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and in a sense, again, of comparatively what comes up, one of the things that we recommend, free game, understand that you should minimally send out 60 applications in a month. So it's 15 a week. Each application is a total of 4 messages you send. All right, so that's a base level minimum. And statistically, when we see more than 70% of individuals, this is not bullshit. This is, I want it to be. There's a part of me that wants it to be, but it's just not. It's the cold, harsh truth. More than 70% of people on average entering into high ticket sales today, spending thousands, don't apply to a single role. And when I break this down for people and I give them those metrics, prior the model that we have now with a job board, with access to hundreds of roles every week at your fingertips, I can understand why people might not have done it, which is why I was pushing Jackson. Yeah, I was fucking probing him up the bum. I was like, fucking hell, Jackson, we got to get a better system here. We got to get a better system here. And now we have the job board, so there's like no excuses for it. You can systemize it. And it blows people's mind when I say to them, I could do 15 applications in an hour. They're like, how do you do that? And what I can't go into detail here, because this is what is revealed into classes. But imagine this, Gary. Imagine I said to you, I could get to, I don't know if you're in America, I'll say that. I won't reveal your exact secret CIA location. But if I wanted to get to you as fast as possible, right, I could get to you tonight, I'd reckon. But I'd only be able to do that with complete private travel, like straight away, get to you. And basically, individuals listening, if you're wondering, how can you do 15 applications in an hour? You need a system, and you need to ensure that your like base fundamental operating center, your workstation, enables you to do that volume. You don't get distracted. Where the secret is in why don't 70% of people apply is that. So if you have those skills as a baseline, if you know you have your tabs organized, if you like to put files into folders, if your room is organized, if your desk doesn't look like the fucking, I don't know, the guy in fucking Jurassic Park. I'm just thinking of his desk in my head. Like his shit everywhere, all over his desk, his McDonald's and his food. He's like sucking on a Pepsi. If you've got those skills, you'd probably do a lot better than someone that even has sales experience but doesn't have those skills, I would say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Exactly what you said. Like, it's all systematic. Everything we do in this industry is systematic. Just like, you know, when you're working on your script and you're talking to a customer, right? It's systematic in how that conversation goes. yes, the answers may be different, the route may change a little bit here and there, but it's the same as that private air jet, right? Like it's a one-way shot. Like you're going from start to finish, and that's what you're doing, right? And you're taking that route every time, and that's why, like you said, you do 15 apps in an hour. I could probably do that same thing because it's not that hard. I used to put out hundreds of apps. Do you remember when we were in the community together, right? When I was first starting out, you were training. How many hours a day were you reviewing mock calls because of a few of us?
Yeah, I would. The reality of it was Amy would come out of the bedroom in the morning and I'd be up and she'd be like, "You're still up?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I've been banging out call reviews." I did 70 plus call reviews in 1 week before. I think I did 77 or 74.
And that's because, in my personal opinion, even in the last 2 years that we've been in this industry, the guys that were in there and the girls that were in that community at the time, right, with me learning, we were all extremely hungry to get to the end goal. And we were on calls. Some of us were doing 6 and 8 mock calls a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To learn it. We got very good, very fast, right? Like that's why we were successful. Do you see that same drive in the communities you're working with now with a 80 to 90% of the people that you're working with?
You know, it's hard for me. Now it feels the biggest difference, and this is a massive difference. I was coaching one community, so I fucking knew everyone. I'd follow up with everyone. Like I don't believe in chasing people, but part of a role is following up. You know, checking in on people. I won't push people up a hill, but I will lend them a helping hand and I will pull them. And I had a lot more focus on one community back then, so I would see more. But now, I'm telling you this all the time. I'm telling the team this all the time. Fuck pulling me. Like I can't keep getting pulled into everyone else's ecosystem. It's
right.
You know the Secret Food Club. I told you about the business. The concept of the Secret Food Club, for those that don't know, I run a business. Shout out Sam. Yeah, shout Sam. He deserves a shout out right now. Sam is basically business partner at the time, 2018. We're running a meal prep company called The Only Kitchen. We basically do a year. To get through a year in that game, it's hard. And we basically got through it. Yes, because of both of us, but like I can't give up. You have to kill me to stop me. And there's a form of what happened. But what I realized after a year, we had the kitchen pulled from us. So we were using an unused restaurant. We had a kitchen, we had a rationale, we had loads of different tools. It was great. We basically got pushed out. And I went through a couple of weeks trying to find a new location. And then what I realized was, fuck this shit, man. Like, not only am I going to stop doing menus for everyone, because I'm basically then enslaved to whether the market can deliver broccoli, but I can't also be bothered to chase people to see if they want meals this week. And secondly, I'm not going to anyone else's kitchen. So the Secret Food Club incepted itself by, you're coming to me, I'm going to deliver you the best food. If I'm doing the meals outbound, there's no menu, Gary. There's like, you're going to get what you're given. Like, you know the style, you know the themes, you know the colors, flavors, textures. But my in-host experience, I did this in 2019. Yeah, I was ahead of the game, and people were like, "Charlie, what are you doing? What's this home restaurant experience?" And I would bring people into my little bungalow, tiny little room, Gary, fucking tiny little room. I had the kitchen, no even table. There was a little folded up futon, and I'd give people food in their hand. Shout out anyone that like is watching this that came to the Secret Food Club. But my point was, I said, you're going to get the best experience if you come to me. The same principle now applies by saying to the market, for me to deliver, even though like the results are speaking for themselves all the time, the feedback is great. For me to really deliver, I can't be in anyone else's kitchen, ecosystem, circle, community, fuck school, every day of the week, fuck school. You have to come to me. I understand what will enable people to succeed and how they build up through graduation, and it's coming, trust me.
No, I agree. I just noticed, like, when we talk about how that people aren't putting apps in, they're not doing those things. We don't see what's happening in those communities, right? But it's a trickle down effect, right, Charlie?
Yeah.
Like, if they're not putting apps in, they're probably not putting the reps in other places either,
Hmm.
right? And yes, that's an assumption, right? Like, I'm assuming that's what's happening, but I do see the success of some people. They're getting on rolls and things like that. Now,
Hmm.
how long they're lasting on those rolls and things like that, I have no idea. I'm
Hmm.
happy they're getting on rolls, and that's the goal, is to help anybody get there.
Hmm.
But the long term effects of this is, like, we need people who are hungry, that want to do this. Like, you need those car salesmen of the world that will grind out 10, 12 hours a day
Hmm.
in the ecosystem for it to be successful long term. Like, this isn't a part-time gig. This isn't delivering groceries for for grocery stores. This isn't delivering food service, right? This is changing people's lives. Like, high ticket sales, and what most of these programs are doing is to help people change their life in the better, whether that's a coaching program to get into high ticket sales, or I've been in the Airbnb space, IT products, whatever it is. Like, those things out there to help people better their lives. So if I can't give them the best of myself in that sales process, they're not going to make the best decision for their self either.
Yeah, I think that's the trade-off there. And if you're selling in a sense of empowerment, if you do a good job, because anything that you sell that requires an individual to do work to achieve it, you have to have a very particular type of sell. You have to have a very delicate process to that. I don't think I've still got content out there that people can find. I called it the no pressure close, but there was a concept of setting them up for success. Why I'm so convicted is because I will go to what level people want to achieve. So if people do come in, and this is another thing about, we can do it, but does it give us peak performance to deliver success for people? Absolutely not, because we don't know what they've gone through. We don't know the marketing. We don't know the sales. We don't really know all that. We're working in partnerships with communities, and we're like blessed to be able to do that with so many people.
Yeah.
But one thing we miss is, what is this person's standard? What did they say coming in? We can re-find out on the call. But if someone's like, I know a guy in one particular community, and he makes it clear every class that he is there. I don't really need to do this. I'm just here because, it's someone else to do it. And it's like, well, awesome. I'll guide you in the best way that I can, but I'm not going to push you. But someone that's like, oh my God, Charlie, like, this has to work for me. If I don't get this shit sorted in 90 days, and I've had those people, I've had everyone. You name them, I've fucking had them. Those people, I'm like, right, okay, what have you done this week? You want to achieve this in 90 days? What the fuck are you doing today? You don't know what this is. You don't want this is. You don't know what this is. I can tell you your 90-day target is bullshit, right? But I am also very open. I'm not a dictator. Let's make it happen. Here's everything you have to do to best your chances. Can you do that? There we go. But I'll push you to the standard of what you want until you realize maybe key secret to performance. A lot of people get this confused. They think setting the highest possible bar gives them the best chance of achieving it. And it's not the case at all. You have to build up incrementally. So you have to set a really easy bar with an ultimate target to get that bar incredibly high. But if you set the bar high to start, try it by going to the gym. Try it by trying to lift. I think it's like less than 10% of people can lift 100 plus kilos, which is about like 200 and something pounds. So if you've never trained, good luck trying to lift that on the first day, right? It just doesn't make sense in any other field. But when there's no physical repercussion of a bench breaking your pectorals, people mentally need to understand this is mental exercise. your mind, your cognition, your neuro pathways. Listen to people like actually write this down if you're listening to it. If you want to understand how you transform yourself into an individual, look at people like Joe Dispenza. Look at people like Bruce Lipton. Look at not to say too many things, but things that influence your neurogenesis, actually developing new neuro pathways as you evolve into the individual that becomes a 5-figure closer, for example. But you can't do that in week 1. You can't do that in 90 days.
Essentially, it's Frank, get off the fucking golf course, bud. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is just how I think about it, right? Like, if whoever Frank is out there, you know, but fuck you, Frank, right? But that's the funny part, is that, like, there's always things that will come up in your life that are going to be road obstacles, right? I think flipping the script here, you know, the conversation we had yesterday, right, with somebody, you know, is like, it kind of went back to that desperation thing, kind of talking about that like need. And that's why that person is putting so many apps in, right? And I know we talked about that for quite a bit a couple episodes ago, but I will say, like, to kind of spin on that again, like, that person's going to be successful because they are now realizing that they're taking a step back. They're looking at the options and they're like, okay, this option's not good. This one's not bad, but they have options because they're doing the work, right? They have sales experience. They have things that, you know, some people don't have, but there's always a way into this industry. Anybody can go into this industry and be successful. Most close rate, like you said, 10, 20% is all you need. Like, not super hard to get those numbers and make good money, right? It's just finding the right opportunities and putting the effort in to get to those opportunities. So that's just my sense on it. It's just, it's been a wild week of what I've seen in the industry already. And it's just changed so much in 2 years. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, bro, I'm so fucking glad you said that, bro. Because here, like, let me say this. The purpose is to raise the standards. Yeah. That's like, quite simply, raise the standards, period. So it's going to rattle some cages. It's part of the game. All due respect to everyone that's out there doing their thing. But what Gary just said is such an important theme. It's such a unique, you get it through life experience. This is why, like, I was dealing with a woman, in fact, quite a lot of people actually recently, like, there's a younger community I deal with. Shout out those guys. They know who they are if they're listening. But interestingly, actually, most people I dealt with this week, more time on earth than me, as I call it. And what I've been saying to people is, like, you're going to get people that enter into business mode and they start a community. And when they joined the market, maybe a couple of years ago, earning 5 figures in your first month, maybe earning 20K in your first, that's a common number that's come up with a few people. They've done 20K in their first month. That was in a different time. That's like the Bitcoin analogy. You know, like Bitcoin, the appreciation of Bitcoin early on is massive compound growth. But if this makes sense, you're losing the quantity of share that you can take from the market. There's still an abundance, make no mistake about it. There's an abundance of opportunity. You can do so much, but it's just not the same as you come in entry level and it's like you do 20K in your first month. 2 years ago, that was way more possible. Why is it not possible anymore? Loads of reasons. Lots of themes we talk about on this show. But if you're coming into this industry, I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen The Wizard of Oz, Gary?
Yes.
I understand the metaphor. I don't have the movie in my head. I don't think I've actually fully watched it. But there's a big thing, or there's something, you can maybe describe it better, but there's someone pulling the strings.
Right. The guy's running the machine, which is Oz.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like a little unintimidating thing, but Oz is this big thing.
Right.
That's a symbol of life. That's a symbol of high ticket sales. What I see, and I've been using this term, Dr. Charlie, not medical advice, but this is what I've been saying this week. You have please them itis. Yeah. And people are like, please am I, was that a skin condition? I'm like, no, it's people pleasing or trying to fit. You even spotted it this week without me saying anything. You were like, you said something yesterday on the class. When you try to answer questions, when you try to fit in the box of what you think they want, if you do that here, you got to understand where most of my work was for 20 years. Like what the depth of what I would do with your soul and spirit to understand how that's depriving your essence on earth because you're trying to please the world rather than recognizing all of your value, being content you can't control the outside world, and putting all your energy in what you bring and what you are stops you tangibly getting roadblocks mentally. If you think, you sink. If you're in your head, you're dead. You get to a type form and they say, what's different about you? And you spend weeks not being able to fill out applications because you're like, what do they want me to say? Who gives a fuck? Who gives a what they think? You can't control that. What can you control? The best response that you've got. If you come to me, I can't give you an answer, but I'll pull something out of you. Because I'll just say, what's different about you? And then you'll give me something. I'll go, there you go. And like that is a key element. The Wizard of Oz, if you understand, like behind the curtain, it's not like, I don't have this with anyone, really. I'm not like, there's people I respect that I'd probably be like edgy around. Like I'd be edgy around Gordon for sure, Gordon Ramsay. I'd be completely humbled by certain martial artists. I'd be completely humbled by like people that inspire me, like Tony Robbins. Right? There's going to be those people. But for the majority, like I don't think any different. I only focus on what I can bring. And if you could see what was behind the curtain, and the stories continue to come every week when I see students, it's like, landed a role, excitement, this, that, and it's full encouragement because it's part of the roundabout you're on. But you see them 4 weeks later. it's like, fucking hell. I didn't think it was going to be like this. And it's like, yeah, if you know, well, you know that now, but if you knew that before, how would you approach now the quote unquote, we reframed this week, but how would you change the interview process going in? I bet you'd be much more relaxed and detached. And you have to learn that by mistakes. But if you hear this, audience, if you hear this, yeah, let that absolutely sink in, because it makes no sense to disempower yourself and remove your aura, like step into scarcity when like you've got nothing to gain, when you've got so much more to gain and nothing to lose by going, I'm just going to put all my energy into what I control. This is the best thing I can think to say on this type form. I'm going to go with that. I bet you do at least one application rather than 0 for months. Yeah. Execute, shoot first, ask questions last.
I got a great story to piggyback off of that. So back when I was like probably 22, 23 years old, I was working in an insurance office and I was moving like an hour away. So like I took this job sight unseen. I didn't interview for it. I didn't do anything. I took the job sight unseen because it was worth an office within a company, like, cause they have individual offices, but it was within a company that I had already had experience working in another office. So I basically talked to a sales manager. They're like, yeah, we need somebody over here. If you want to go to work there, call this guy. He'll just hire you. He doesn't have any help. He needs the experience, right? So he was a new agent, never been an agent before. It's a wild thing too, right? I worked there. I don't even know how many months I was there. Probably like 2 or 3, maybe 4 months. And I was very close to the office manager. She was an older lady, very good. She'd been with the company for like 30 years, like whatever. And she told me, she's like, dude, he keeps contemplating whether he's going to fire you, this and that. Like, and I just want to put this in perspective. I was the only one closing deals. It was an insurance office. I was the only one bringing business into that fucking place, right? I was the only one closing deals. Okay. But it was costing him money, right? And then he was changing, like, he kept changing my comp structure. Like I'd hit it and then I need to change it to this, so that I couldn't hit it, things like that. Cause he didn't want to pay my commissions, right? I'm pretty sure to this day, he still owes me a shitload of money from deals I closed, but
Oh,
whatever. But what I'm trying to say was, I didn't give a fuck that he was my boss, because what I did when I found out, I walked into his office, I closed the door, and I said, if you're going to fucking fire me, do it right fucking now. He's like, you don't talk to your boss like that. I said, I don't give a flying shit who you are. Because he had this hierarchy mentality in him, but I could run that office better than he could because I was the only one bringing sales in. And then it got to a point, because I didn't quit at that point. I quit like a month or two later. I don't remember. But it was to a point where I would set him life insurance appointments, right? Even though I was life licensed, he needed appointments. So I was like setting extra appointments for him. And these people would walk out the door and never buy anything. Mm. I told the district manager, I'm like, bro, he can't sell, an ice cream cone to a kid. Like, you know what I mean? Every kid wants an ice cream cone, right? It was so wild. But in that time, if I look back now, I learned very quickly that everybody is the same. There's no difference between a CEO and me as a worker, because they put their pants on the same way. They get up every day. Like, challenging those people sometimes is the best thing you can have. Now, having a personality clash or, a cultural fit issue, that's a different story, right? Mm-hmm. But like, challenging those people, like, if they're going to expect it out of me, they should expect it out of themselves. And if they're not going to, like, I'm not going to be there. Like, hell with you. I'm not, like we talked about yesterday, it's a partnership. In a lot of these high ticket space, it is a partnership between you and that person. You're helping them grow their business, and in return, they're paying you to do it, right? Because that's ultimately what salespeople are. They're growing a business. And like, the problem we have is that these business owners think that they're above us. And so there's been many a times I said in interviews when I said, well, this guy's a fucking douche. And I literally just left the interview and just quit. Like, because they were group interviews, it didn't matter. But I mean, like, that's the thing that people have to realize, is that when you're making that loom, just be yourself. Because if you're not giving that person the right opportunity to see who you are, to see if you are a good fit for their company.
Yeah, and one other thing, Gary. Watch your back. You got to understand, yeah, like, there is and this comes down to more. It comes down to who you are as an individual, right? If you have, everyone feels it, but some people are more aware of it. I think as you also get more time on earth, your tolerance goes down of that type of bullshit, of being mistreated. I think everyone's experienced that. I've definitely experienced that, even if it's not necessarily work, teachers, I don't know. I've experienced that shit in my life. Like, people that will, like, belittle you or like think less of you, for sure. And, in a corporate world, there's maybe more of an argument for it. But like what we were saying yesterday in this class, you're not an employee. Because if you were, they're there to support you through. Some companies are going to do this. Let's make that very clear. Some companies in high ticket sales are going to do this, but a majority of them are not. They're not going to give you benefits. They're not going to give you some kind of insurance. It's going to be different for different regions. But like, if something happens to you, they don't cover you or your family. You don't get maybe maternity leave, but there's a load of upside to commission only sales. There's a load of upside. But the downside is commission only sales. You're basically working for free. They also can replace you with someone else that will work for free. Now, this again falls into the fields of leadership and someone's moral compass, their level of integrity, what drives them, passionate. I know many great leaders. And there's levels to this. But in high ticket sales, yeah, if you go in thinking, I mentioned it, I think you was on the call. Yeah, it was with the older group. When you've been ingrained in corporate, interviews sit there kind of tie. Doesn't mean don't show up, doesn't mean don't be professional. But you've mentioned this on the pod before. The guy that wears his cap backwards might secure the role. You have to go in and understand even with low leverage, there's strategic ways you can do this. There's so many levels. That's why you have to like work and actually go through coaching and guidance independently with this. But in a general sense, you need to mentally frame yourself at least neutral. At least neutral. Because if you don't, good luck selling. Good luck having that in front of a prospect. Because prospects, over 500 call reviews I've done, Gary, all of them are lost in the first 5 minutes. And the sad thing, and this is why I fucking love call reviews. This is why I did over 70 call reviews in 1 week. I was doing this shit before, never in sales, but I'm observing human behavior. I do this on my other streams. I observe human behavior. And when I'd break down call reviews to people, I'd be like, you see right there, you've lost them. But for some reason, I can tell you why does the call go on for another fucking hour and 20 minutes? And it's because they don't tell you what's going on in the subtext and in the energy. They're not saying, I'm out, but they're out there if you can spot it. And normally it's because they don't buy you. No, I don't buy you. No matter what you say, you can't do fuck all for me today. Yeah, this is the subtext. You can't do nothing for me. Yeah, let's use Frank. Unfortunately, there's a Frank out there getting the brunt of it. Yeah? Frank, fuck you, mate. You can't do nothing for me. No matter what you say, you could do 4 backflips in the air before you hit the ground, and I'm not going to buy it from you. It's just something that's gone, I'm out. And you can never really claw that back. The only occasion strategically, we would actually do this on that team, Gary. Oh, let me pull my manager in, the manager frame. And you get someone else in, and maybe they work it and they like someone else. But the transference of you applying for a role is directly going to correlate with your performance on the role. So if you show up and you're like, yes, sir, no, sir, please give me the role, and you're desperate and you're scarce, and again, you don't present yourself in the same way as a sales professional that's not going to let some prospect take control of the call. It's not going to take frame. They're emotionally controlled. They're detached. And one of the biggest things that you can do, this came up in a lesson this week, is you don't need to come up with perfect answers. Everyone's trying to get perfect answers. If someone asks you, a terrible question, yes, but it is a common question, why should we choose you over someone else, or why should we hire you? If you start telling them why, to me, like you're 50x less powerful. You're like not even Super Saiyan. But if you want to be like Super Saiyan 4, at least, yeah, shout out to Dragon Ball Z fans. If you want to be like Super Saiyan 4, go, that's something I can't answer for you. That's something I need to ask you to get more information so I can understand what the perfect candidate is for you, because maybe it's not me. So if I asked you what's the one thing that you're looking for in a candidate, I'll be able to break down if I have that quality. But just by doing that, more than 95% of people can't do that. That shows the sales skill. You can't tell people anything. If you're ever telling, you're never selling. That was always my saying. If you're ever telling, you're never selling. If I say to you, Gary, you should buy this, Gary starts to fly from it. It's like, fuck this. If I say, Gary, you probably shouldn't buy this, I don't think it'll work for you. Gary, tell me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. But your natural inquisition is like, why? You become more curious and open. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I'm shit.
No, I completely agree. Like, if somebody tells me to, like, it's just like kids, right? If you tell your kid to do something, they're going to do the complete opposite, right? That's just the nature of humans. Like, if somebody gets told not to date somebody because they're really a terrible person, they're probably going to date them twice as long. So you try to, like, mitigate that by, like, being nice to them and things like that,
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, nice. But that's where the difference in high ticket sales is that you need people to realize that in that process that it's what they really need for their life, themselves. It's not anything we can do for them. And that's why, your book and the ways that we've always learned to do this is to only help people figure it out on their own without actually selling them.
Yeah, that. And for people that want to know, like I've said this before, what is empowerment sales? What's fear-based sales? Right. And there's a very fine line, Because to empower someone, sometimes you need to challenge them, and you do help them understand, you do help them face the fear of, okay, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this at all. Like, here's the beauty, Frank. There's no way in hell I can pull money out of your account. So let's like breathe for a moment. This is fully in your hands. But with everything we went through today, isn't it way worse? I'm asking you, isn't it way worse to go back to what you were doing? Of course, that you use pain, but fear-based selling isn't a fear in the prospect. It's a fear in the sales rep. It's like, I'm scared I'm going to lose the sale. Rather than, Frank, if you honestly believe with everything and if I've done my job correctly to my process, I'm very thorough, and I'm completely okay if people don't buy. I'm completely okay with that. I don't get everything perfect. But if they honestly believe that this isn't right for them, I love that. I love clarity. What I hate is dishonest people that leave bullshit in themselves. That pisses me off. But if they're like, no, now that you've broken it down, I had that with a woman. She was so convinced. She was like, you gave me so much value, such a breakthrough, but it just didn't close. So many sales reps, I can hear it in my mind right now in this industry. The gurus will be saying, yeah, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do this. Sure. Show me your chargeback rate. Show me your refund rate. Show me the fucking other side of that process, because that's the difference with me. I'm willing to maybe lose a sale where someone else might pull them in, because I don't want to deal with there you go, Gary, we got fucking, X amount in commission this month. And then you get to the end of the month and you're like, oh, fucking hell, 4K of that is gone because it's like it's been pulled.
Going back to the boss.
Yeah. Fuck that shit, man. Mm-hmm. There is levels, bro. There is levels, but empowerment-based selling is what I'm about.
One thing I will say here, if anybody, people that made it this far, like, tell your friends about this podcast, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that are missing out on some extremely valuable information. And, the feedback that we get every week is that, like, it is hitting home and helping them get to the next level. Whether they're already listening to the sales or they're not, things like that. They're doing high ticket sales. So we're definitely need to get this out in front of more people. And, Charlie, you know what time it is?
Oh, is it that time?
It is that time.
Okay. Well, I reckon the first one we should do is it's question of the week. I'm going to ask Gary a question. He's going to ask me a question. Question for Gary. Now, the number one thing to use all your skill to earn money is an opportunity to do so. What's the most common block for an individual to secure the opportunity that enables them to hit their financial target?
The biggest block? Financial clarity. And the reason I say that is because it's a commission-only type position, and they don't know how much they're going to make in the end, right? Like that month or the next month or the next month, they sell with that fear base of not being able to make enough money to pay their bills. And it blocks them from getting sales every month. If you don't think that way, you'll make twice as much money.
And do you think there's anything that they can do as a follow-up? Do you think there's anything that can be done? Because, we're talking about opening on this pod. No matter how good you are, like without the vehicle, none of it matters. Without opportunity, without access to it, without alignment, cultural alignment, prospect alignment, without all that stuff. So is there anything that you think is in the way, what basically, here's a follow-up question. Why don't people just find that perfect opportunity right away?
Because they're too focused on getting into a role. They're not focused on finding the right fit. They're focused on just getting a job because they look at it as a job, not a career.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest problem. They don't think about a partnership. They don't think about, even us doing this podcast, right? It's a partnership. We don't work for each other. We work together for a common goal, right? So people don't think about that. They're like, oh, well, I'm working for this business owner. He's not smarter than you. He just got lucky, most of them, or put the effort in to be able to do it, right? I think that's the biggest problem with every person.
Yeah, I think that's so true, bro. I think the job part, and if you're listening as a student, I pull you up on this. It rolls off the tongue. Job, we say those things, but it's not a job. No one wants a fucking job. No one wants a job. You didn't get into high ticket sales to get a job. You wanted earning potential online with more time freedom, financial freedom, whatever it is. A job, fucking go to McDonald's. Like, with all due respect, like, go to McDonald's, be a bin man, like, get a job. There's honorable jobs out there, but you're not looking for that. Yeah, fucking great response, bro. What have you got for me?
Charlie, in all your years in life, right? What do you feel on a daily basis you're doing to help people to get to the next level? What is the main thing you do every week? I think it's important for people to hear this.
Just to clarify, with me or with others?
What do you do personally to help people get to their goals?
Yeah. I think with me, tough. Yeah, with me, and if anyone's, the feedback is it speaks for itself. Yeah, like, I can say it. I don't think it's healthy to try and ignore it and suppress it. I don't think that's humble. There's tons of positive feedback out there. And I serve myself. I think that's the biggest thing. I think many people procrastinate through virtuous tasks. Like, oh, I'm doing all this for everyone else, or this has got to be done for it. And they miss the very simple principle in life is you can serve more with the capacity to serve more. Meaning, if you haven't sorted out your own shit, if you haven't got your own life in order, and there's levels to this, and like I am humble, but it'd be asinine for me to fucking ignore how elite I am in this area. Anyone that's visited my house understands, like, fucking hell, like, basically it's like obsessive. But I never go into a new week. There's obviously there's things I'm connected in business relationships, but everything I can control is controlled within the week. But all my life experience has taught me how to manage what I set myself every week. But my principle is living with Amy. Never, ever is anything in the air. Nothing is unaddressed. That's why I've been with her for 15, 16 years this year. There is a reality of what I do that enables me to serve people at such a high level. And it's a complete selfishness, yeah, which I've reframed with people many times, self-fullness. I sort my own shit out first. I can show up as a professional, trust me, with a lot of shit going on, but it's very rare. There's going to be obligations I have to show up and I haven't fully completed certain tasks. I'm going to show up as a professional. But that doesn't carry into a new week. Like, if I'm not wandering around my house singing, dancing, trust me, like, it's quite funny, yeah. But like I say to Amy all the time, we like listen back to some of the recordings because I document a lot of stuff that I do. It's like, I'm autistic. I'm 100% just running around the house like, woo! But I regulate my nervous system. I serve myself. I find my own needs. I have an amazing home, an amazing family. I've worked my whole life to do that. So when I actually show up for others, I'm so clear and channeled and focused for them. And I also, because I've done it myself, that's what the wisdom is. I don't read books. No disrespect to people that read books, but it does irritate me when people are like, oh, have you read this book? Have you read that book? I'm like, no, I wasn't reading books. I was too busy fucking doing it. Yeah, I've been out here living it.
I'm in the same boat. I'm the same way, Charlie. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah. And I rate the authors. Yeah, I rate the authors. Like people are like, one of them is, and it's even in my bathroom. Yeah, like I'm not reading it, but Amy's reading it. It's like James Clear, Atomic Habits, and they're like, oh, have you read that book? And I'm like, no, I've got a habit of doing things. Yeah, I actually get it done. No disrespect to the books, I read, but don't get caught in information. Fuck around, find out. Like sometimes that backfires, yes, but you learn quick. And I think that key, number one thing in sales, Gary, you'll know this. If you're sharp, if you've got your shit in order, if your money's good, if your energy's good, think about before you went on carnivore. Think about the difference in energy levels for sales.
Yep.
If you can't show up with that level of energy, fucking boom, it's really hard to serve people. So it's basically a transference of energy. And you need to build it in yourself first.
Well, Charlie, you know what? If you made it this far, you listen to this podcast, you see it on YouTube, the word this week to put in the chat, to comment is Hidden Gem. Go put it in there, and we will see you next week. Right, Charlie?
Absolutely, guys. Highticketsnails.com. You'll find everything. It's just one website now. Super easy. We'll play out with Clip of the Week. And guys, big love. The feedback, the support, something that also transfers directly to you and your level of engagement, right, is even investment isn't financial. It's attention. So just by you like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff means you exchange energy with where your attention goes. Get into the habit of that. I'm going to play out with Clip of the Week. Hopefully this is set up. Guys, big love. Peace. Take care.
Motherfucker, fuck the fucking world, and my new band is called Siskill. Oh mein Arsch. Oh, ich muss die gleich gucken. Perfekt, oder? Planet Earth is under tension. Motherfucker, fuck the fucking world and my new